What's up, guys? This is Dan. Alex behind the camera walking across right now. This is ThoughtCastNow, episode 7.
Whoa, 7.
Episode 7.
Shit.
Yeah,
Almost 2 months.
Pretty nuts. We will be linking up with Anup, Sastry, the incredible drummer and producer. He's worked with Monuments, Intervals, Marty Friedman, Jeff Loomis, Sky Harbor, has his own solo shit, the list goes on. Unbelievably talented and business-minded musician that I think all of us could learn something from. But today's topic is an interesting one. The topic basically is, and I'll just pitch it to you because it's so conversational.
Yeah.
Being a musician and a human, bound to society and its laws and expectations, how do you find the balance between doing what you love and supporting what you love to do? And perhaps more importantly, how do you do that shit all while maintaining balance in your mental and physical health as well as your social and personal life? It's a pretty loaded question. It's 2 parts, and they're both really difficult to respond to. You want to take a stab at that, dude?
Yeah.
So want to break it in one, or you want to just go at it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer each one.
Let's do it.
As we go. So the balance of doing what you love and then supporting what you love, right? It's
The ultimate quest.
It is. I mean, it is probably the hardest thing to do in life, and I think we're fortunate as musicians, and musicians who make a living doing it, that we get to do both simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But in the real world, it's not the case. It's usually, you've got your job that you deal with, basically. And some people love their job. Most people probably don't.
It's a chore. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity. Yeah. I mean, you're slaving all these hours for something that isn't even yours necessarily. So for me, I don't know. I think what I have to do in order to make it click right for me is to do it kind of based on mental health.
Yeah.
And so I lied. These two are going to be connected.
They are connected. That's
the
thing. They're one and the same, right?
Yeah. And so having a positive mental outlook on not just what you do, but how you kind of afford what you do, and what you love to do. I think that's the only way you can really trepice that kind of chasm. It's ensuring that despite all the things that are going to bring you down, you're able to kind of stay afloat in that sea of misery, and try as you might to kind of make it sustainable, both for financial reasons as well as for human reasons. And so for me, like someone who suffers from very severe depression, it's incredibly crucial to me that I have to stay on top of it. Right? If I don't, then nothing's going to get done.
Everything suffers.
Exactly. And it's not just music. It's not just career. It's not just all these things that have to be constant, but whenever it hits, everything is replaceable, which is honestly not true when it comes to having your own solo career.
Right.
It's like it has to keep going, even if you mentally can't make it happen. So for my survival, essentially, not just as a human, but as a musician, as someone who does this every single day, all day, if I let that kind of positivity slip, I will be nothing. And so to me, essentially, the balance is just maintaining good mental health. That's the key for me.
How do you do that?
Proper diet and exercise.
That shit, once a month. That shit is not easy, man.
No, it's not. And you and I both go through very similar things. We went through very similar things.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of our conversations privately are about the things that we've had to go through because they are almost identical. And then into my deeper self of the actual depression that I literally will never be able to get rid of fully.
Right. Something to manage, right?
Exactly. It becomes just this maintenance. And keeping myself afloat in my own head is really done through finding as much joy as I can in even menial tasks. Because in my condition, I don't really get the high highs. I'm stuck at the middle and all the way down. And so trying to kind of fake those high highs to myself is one of the biggest things. And that's performing to me. I get pretty down if I don't gig for a while. And just because live, that's the time you get to feel alive, right?
Whoa.
No shit.
Yeah, so real, though.
And so for me, it's like trying to keep that constant, something that's only 45 minutes to an hour long, trying to make it where it's 24/7.
Right, so the goal for you is to sustain that mid-range at whatever cost it is so that you can still do the things you love to do.
Exactly.
It makes perfect sense. That is like the homeostasis that you need to grow fucking anything worth a damn.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
So what is it for you then?
Oh man, well, let me rephrase.
Is it a oneer or a twoer?
It's probably a tenor. Let me rephrase the question, the topic of today, just for anyone who is just hopping in right now. Being a musician and a human, bound to society and its laws and expectations, how do you find the balance between doing what you love and supporting what you love to do? Fuck. And perhaps more importantly, how do you do it all while balancing your mental and physical health as well as your social and personal life? Well, for me, I try to make sure that everything that I do is in support of what I love. So in other words, like any backup plan that I may have, like my plan B, C through Z was never anything unless there was something musical around me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
totally get it.
right, so like my fallback plan is always going to be something that I can enjoy and put my heart and my soul and my passion into, and therefore, because I enjoy it, I will succeed, right?
Yeah.
And that's another fucked up thing is like sometimes there is no balance. It just comes down to, like you said, like that lying to yourself, in the sense that I will succeed. If you could say this shit to yourself and make this like something that's a part of your DNA of just like believing that this shit is yours, it's much more likely to happen. That self-doubt is the most like
Toxic.
eroding. Yeah, it's so fucked up, dude.
And we all experience it, you know.
Endlessly.
Exactly. I mean, like, it's funny to me because you are someone that I have idolized in the past.
Oh, stop
And, you know, whenever, you and I started talking, becoming friends, then now fucking living together, it was just like, oh shit, this guy who has done these things that I've dreamt of is the same.
The same asshole as I am. Yeah. It's real, though.
It's totally real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another kind of notion on what you said is that, like, imagine working a job that you absolutely can't stand. It has nothing to do with music. It's like, despite the fact that you need the money, could you still give it your all or just say no?
Dude, this might sound absolutely outrageous, and I think you have a very similar story, but I have one actual job title under my belt in my entire life, which was working at a deli over the summer when I was in like 10th grade maybe. And this was the summer that I was like, you know what? I will succeed. Fallen Figure will fucking happen. My commitment to Fallen Figure turned into my commitment to As Blood Runs Black, which turned into my commitment to my own solo career. And like it all started with me really recognizing, fuck this. I'm not gonna do that. This fulfills jack shit other than like a minute corner of my pocket. You know what I mean? Like there's no cash coming in from that world, right?
Yeah.
As far as fulfillment and cash going hand in hand. You know what I mean? You could be a bartender and make sick tips, but you feeling awesome, getting people fucked up every night. Just
what's the quality of your money?
right, yeah. It's definitely gonna smell a little bit. But like it all just comes down to what makes you feel good and what you want to do, right? So like going back on being a solo musician, something that I recognized a few years ago is that by focusing on being as self-sufficient of a musician as you can, the more job titles that you create for yourself. Like, I would be willing to say there's probably more than 10. In fact, I have to fucking write them down here so I can say them all. But basically, all the things that you're going to be doing as a self-sufficient artist are going to be things that can pay you and supplement what you're doing, as well as make you save money so you can invest it into things that matter.
Yeah.
Right? So like
exactly.
by being your own, boss, you're basically going to be, or you can, I should say, you could engineer your own music, which means you could save money, take in out-of-town clients, have them come to your house and do it for them. You can mix and master their shit. It's another job. You could be a producer. You could, you could be doing photography. You could be doing filming and editing. You could do your own artwork. You could find your own artwork, which makes you an artistic director. You could be creating promotional content. You could become a marketing guru, make your own fucking website, begin teaching. Like, all of these things are going to save you money and make you money while fulfilling the thing that is keeping you here. Like, if you're watching this stream, I imagine one or two of these things speaks to you. And I personally lean on probably more than half of these.
It's awesome that you bring that up, because that is the absolute direct response to anybody who says you can't make money in the music industry these days.
Multiple
Like
streams of income.
That's absolutely bullshit.
It is.
It's like you're not going to make $1 million off of album sales unless you're Beyonce. That's just a fact. And even then, you're not going to make a dime off of an album sale, even at any stage. So, for instance, let's see, I know as Blood Runs Black was, and my band Seek Irony were both signed to major labels.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much I've made off of Seek Irony? That much.
Yeah.
In my 5 years in that band, with 2 albums, and both on labels. And so the reality of that is, well, shit, I need to go do other things to make it succeed.
Right. The overhead is not something that most people consider.
Yeah.
In being in a band, the what you net at the end is pretty disgusting compared to what you will have in gross income. Like a lot of bands will make like over $100,000 on a tour, and it sounds fantastic, and they all come home with $500 in their pockets each.
Yeah.
After they pay off the van rental, which is $30,000 for the 2-month thing, the trailer rental, driver, merch guys, sound guys, fucking broken engine, oil changes, hotels, laundry,
label, booking agents, all
per
of it.
diems.
That's fucking
per diems is like that's like $100 to $200 to $300 a day coming out of the band's income, right? Which, and for those of you who don't know what a per diem is, this is a allotted amount of money given to you by the band, and every band has a different kind of thing. As Blood Runs Black, for instance, we started at $10 each, which was rough. It was like, get a Subway sandwich and have that, half of it for lunch, half of it for dinner, and then you have enough for a gas station meal on the drive. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then it turned into $20 as things got better, and some bands have $100 per diems a day, and it all depends. But it's an expense that's coming out of that gross amount of income you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, you're still paying for it, no matter what you think.
Right, yeah. It's exciting, but then it's like, ooh, wait, now I don't have money at the end of the
I know, it's like, I'm getting a per diem. This is like the thing that I've always heard big bands talk about, but you don't realize that you're actually paying for that per diem.
Yeah.
That per diem is literally your own bank account.
It's your future pay.
Yeah.
You're taking a loan out on yourself.
Exactly. Just so you can live.
Yeah. Ouch! Ouch! That hurts my soul. Fuck.
Yes.
Oh man.
But it's yeah. I mean, like for any musician, you know, it's diversifying your income. Like myself, I transcribe a shit ton of music for a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
Dan is a fantastic engineer and works with artists from, you know, acoustic, soft rock, whatever the fuck it is, all the way over to, you know, of course, death metal.
The metals.
Exactly. And, you know, then teaching is like probably the most obvious one for everybody.
That's big mental health for me, by the way. Teaching?
No shit.
Yeah.
I always feel better after teaching.
Very much so. It's very, very therapeutic, for, you know, lack of a better word.
Yeah, and it's weirdest thing too, because sometimes it can be through a lesson when you're just basically repeating the shit from the previous week, but you still just feel like a better human.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
But yeah, I mean, find those different avenues where you're strong at, and, you know, focus on those.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got moderately lucky with having the time to train my ears enough to transcribe, which is mostly by chance, by the way. And
Just force
it was
reading, right?
It was reading tab books while listening to music, and I didn't know that I was hearing different strings.
Right.
Ultimately,
Okay.
until I started to transcribe.
Interesting.
But so it's like those transcriptions, things where, you know, I had some power behind. It's like I can make a profit off of that, and you know that like $400, $500, $1,000 a month from doing that specific thing, that's rent, you know. And then all the other shit that you get to do, mixing, mastering, photography, videography, all these different things that you can do as well, that's more money in the bank. And the best thing is, you're your own boss. You can decide your own time, and suddenly you're working only 1 day a week, and you can focus on everything else creative the rest of it.
And something else that's really powerful, that just to add to that, is not only are you giving yourself, you know, your own avenue to go down to make your own income, but you are also, besides being your own boss, you're basically creating a situation where you're in control of everything that needs to be, you know, all the issues that can arise in being a musician can kind of boil down to, can you do what you love and be happy, and can you survive doing so, right?
Yeah.
So it really comes back to mental health and sustaining what you do by doing what you love.
Yeah.
To me, that is the answer to the question.
The answer is the question.
The answer is the question. It's terrible. And like for me personally, just to kind of wrap up the question, because I know I didn't answer the second half, how do I take care of my mental and physical health? Sadly, I don't as much as I would like to. I used to do a lot of meditating, a lot of Xingyi, which is fucked up internal martial art I did for a lot of years, but it's...
The live stream's only an hour, Dan.
Yeah, I won't go into this. It's a long story. But that shit is really important to me, and a lot of it bleeds into how I view music and how I teach and why I'm, zen about my approach and shit. But it really comes down to there are so many jobs or so many hats being worn right now that I'm really just juggling. And my personal life is basically consists of downtime, which is recovering to like rev up for the next big round,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a day-by-day thing.
It's a vicious cycle.
Like, every single day, you and I are both working from the hours of usually 11 until 12.
At least.
The next day?
At least, and it's how many different jobs throughout the day, you know?
And so, I mean, we run, 4 businesses, and then we've got our own band,
right.
Then we have our own teaching schedules,
mm-hmm.
And then, we do have girlfriends that
that's another job.
Miss us and hate us for doing what we do.
Right. It's sad, but at the end of the day, these sacrifices that we're willing to, to make, it all comes down to making what we do be supported by what we love.
Yeah.
And, I'm really fucking curious what Anup has to say about this.
I know. All right. So, Anup, if you can go ahead and give us a wave, any little emoji you want to put in, I really don't care.
Give you
go
a
ahead
request.
and push it, and then I'll be able to see your name, and I will request you for live. So, one moment.
Awesome. Well, for those of you who aren't sure what ThoughtCastNow is, this is a live stream that Alex and I do every week. It's basically a live music philosophy talk show. We have a guest on. We get as deep as we fucking can. We talk directly to you guys. And at the end of it all, we have all of our videos stored and housed in our members only area. We got Anup. Anup, are you there?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fucking chilling, man. I'm so stoked this works. You were saying you've never done this before?
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram Live, at least. I've never gone live with another party.
Yeah, dude, it's something that we really just started experimenting with 7 episodes ago. So,
Yo, you guys are sick, man. You guys said some pretty deep shit. I'm coming into a pretty deep conversation.
Welcome. We are sorry if you walk away skates.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that actually means a lot, though, dude. So you caught some of the outlandish shit we were saying before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best way to phrase that.
Well, fuck, dude. Like, let me just rephrase the question for you, for anyone who's joining the live stream now. So, Anup, being a musician and a human, which, is debatable, balance of society and its laws and expectations, how do you find the balance between doing what you love and supporting what you love to do? And perhaps more importantly, how do you do that shit all while balancing your mental and physical health as well as your social and personal life? It's a two-parter. Sorry for that.
Man, that's brutal.
This is the first time we're actually going to read off of our sheets for this.
Usually we...
That's a big one. I mean, I think every person, regardless of your career, should understand that. I think, first off, everybody, to a degree, has immense struggles with that balance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and to answer it pretty bluntly, I'm still kind of figuring that stuff out.
Dude, we all are.
So I'm struggling pretty hard with balancing things, you could say, but I think there's a lot of excitement and fun in figuring those things out as well, because you learn about, a lot about yourself, a lot about other people. It's an, exciting journey, I guess.
Yes.
So,
yeah, the experimentation and the experiences you have along the way kind of all add up to kind of, accumulate to who you are right now in a weird fucking way.
Well, they also show you the approach that you need to take for yourself.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And like you guys kind of covered already, in the music industry, even if you're not Beyonce, there's still a lot of really cool ways to take advantage of your skills and your abilities, because there's always people out there who need something, And one thing I actually try and tell a lot of people is that, if someone, there's a lot of times where people are like, I don't feel, legitimate enough to teach a lesson or whatever, But the thing about it is, if someone hits that person up and asks them, hey, can I take a lesson with you? They clearly have interest in learning from you,
Right.
So
you did something right.
Yeah. So I think one of the first steps to that balance is kind of understanding that, you have stuff to offer the world. you know, you just have to find that confidence and kind of get on that page.
Interesting.
That is ridiculously important.
Yeah, I've actually never had the thought arise, which is like, when is a person ready to become a teacher? Like, from being, you know, a learning musician to a teacher. That is a weird fucking thought.
And it's not even with teaching. It's really with any. I mean, say, you know, making videos, for example, because
Right,
that
just
for
leveling
musicians
up.
these days, that's like our resume, right? I mean, you know, that's our resume, right? Whether you mix, whether you play an instrument, whether you know, sing, whatever it is, it's like doing a video tutorial of some kind or a playthrough video, whatever it is. That's kind of like our resume. So
Right.
you kind of have to like get over that hump of this. You have to like get over this like feeling of like, okay, you know, should I put myself out there? Should I not put myself out there? Like self-doubt, essentially, you know. Once you get that, though, you know, once you get over that hump, I feel like the opportunities are pretty endless. So
Yeah, and so long as you're primed and setting yourself up to be like, you know, the right person in the right place at the right time, you're gonna seize that shit.
totally, man.
I mean,
It's tough these days in bands. What'd you say?
It's like anything you can do to avoid having to do what normal people do.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know, man.
That's a t-shirt.
That's something, again, I'm still trying to figure out, because like, especially like, you know, like after because I didn't get a degree at a college or anything. So I went to 2 years of community college for music theory, barely retained any of that. And then went to a trade school for audio engineering, and I was kind of just like, well, shit, you know, what do I do? You know, and like, there's no degree to actually get me like a job that's going to provide like a financial security that allows me to pursue other things in music. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of dive in 100% and see what happens, you know? So
that whole like diving in 100% kind of touches back on what I was saying before, of just like having that belief in yourself that like, I'm going to fucking do this. I'm going to make this work. Like that having no fallback in a fucked up way forces success. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one.
Yeah, totally, man.
It was, you better not have a backup plan. Berkeley is your backup plan.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel me on that, Anup?
Say what?
You feel me on that?
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, because of that, like, you know, because of exactly what you just said, it's pushed me to try and open up doors myself, you know? The other thing that's really important is just making relationships and just being yourself in those relationships, because you know, it's one thing to like open up doors and stuff and like have all these opportunities, but it's another thing to like look at every opportunity as a dollar sign, and that's bad, because at least in my opinion, I think that's not a good approach, because that kind of, you start not being yourself and it becomes less genuine, and you're more after, you know, just making money instead of like actually building relationships.
Absolutely.
Actually worrying about, okay, do I have something to offer? Is this person in this lesson, for example, actually going to take something and be able to work on it for months and, you know, be influenced by it for X amount of time, or am I just making, you know, a quick buck? You know what I mean?
Right. It comes down to like a self-awareness of your own value, which is, there's no fucking mirror that will help you see that. That's like a really hard thing to recognize.
Totally.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
And putting a monetary value on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
tough. It's tough to do.
Yeah, I know, man. And for like bands, I noticed some guy was asking like signed versus unsigned bands. I don't really know what they were referring to, but can you guys see me?
Yeah. Yes, we're back.
We got audio? Good. Thank God.
Is this going to be the first live stream that we don't have to duplicate?
Only if you say it and jinx it out loud, which we've never actually done.
No, maybe
jinx
the
it.
knocking on the wood is like what's going
We should jinx this shit and see what happens. But yeah, dude, the whole premise is like, the insight behind this question is like kind of disgustingly helpful. You know, like I'm hearing things I've never thought of for both of you guys, and I feel like I'm a better person because
want to do better in life now.
No, but for fucking real though, like it all is a matter of like finding the best version of yourself, committing to that shit, and like rather than kicking down doors at all costs, kind of like what you're saying, it's a matter of like finding ways to ease those doors open and have relationships through that, rather than like violently fucking some shit up.
Yeah, and just to realize that every other person is going through it as well, because it's like natural for us to kind of, build this like barrier around us and think that, oh my God, my life is, in shambles, right? But there's so many other people on this planet that are also going through that, and probably even worse. Well, definitely even worse in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
So, like you're not the only one trying to figure things out. So
it's maybe some of the mental health that comes along with this is really just accepting that like you're not the only fucking one going through the struggle, and just that alone will help you move forward.
Yeah.
Totally. I definitely think that goes hand in hand. So
I'm with that.
By the way, speaking of mental health, to jump to that really quickly, one thing that really helps me is having my dog and my cat. Yeah, I'm a huge animal lover, so like having those two, around, like I'll definitely throughout the day try and like if I'm gonna hang out with them, I'm going to like hang out with them. It's not just like gonna be on my phone while I'm petting my dog or something.
Right.
So
yeah, get some of that unconditional love and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, animals are fucking everything. I had a dog when I was younger, but it didn't really count. I was like 7. The dog shat everywhere and bit everyone, so we had to give it back.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I just got my first actual dog about 1.5 years ago, and she's been fucking, as lame as it sounds, light of my fucking world, dude. Like,
there you go. Yeah, man.
It's so real, man.
You can't help yourself and you just got to get cheeseball with the pets. You know what I mean? Like, because it's true.
Yeah, I think a dog and a cat is the answer to this question.
Yes, without a doubt.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, man. So, since I know you mostly as being a drummer, I have a question for you personally, which is, do you find that being a drummer affects the way that you write your own music or produce other bands? So we were listening to some of your music earlier today on Bandcamp.
Fucking sick.
And to me, there was an obvious like percussive influence in it. And so
yeah, I don't do that on purpose, to be honest. I write thinking that I'm like, not writing percussively and like, yeah, this sounds cool on the guitar. And then afterwards I like finish everything up and I'm like, oh, it just sounds like a drummer wrote this. But at the same time, like I'm not even worried about it these days because like that, actually, I mean, in a way this can kind of tie into mental health. Writing my own music is just a really good way of me being able to stay sane, like keeping my sanity through trying to figure everything else out. Having that outlet is really important. So one of the last things I'm going to do is add the stress about what other people are going to think about it while I'm trying to, do my thing. So I guess to answer that question, I'm a drummer. You can tell when you can tell when you listen to my stuff, I'm over it. It is what it is.
But hey, I mean, that's a reflection of yourself, so you shouldn't have to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how cool is it to have guitar written by a drummer? I mean, I'm sure you have the same viewpoint on like the way guitar players then write drums.
I literally just had. Do you know Cocos from Upon a Burning Body by any chance?
Yeah, I think so.
I was just speaking with him the other day, and I was sending him some music. He's like, "Man, I love what you do, but it just sounds like a guitar player wrote these fucking drums."
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, but the thing is that I don't think there's enough drummers writing their own guitars for that to become a statement. But like,
oh, right.
But it's like when you listen to something, you can definitely be like, yeah, a guitar player wrote these drums,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch. It's real though, and you're fucking right. I can't really be like a drummer wrote that riff. It's like, no, dude.
Whenever there's 18 cymbals and like 7 snaps.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, you've got an octopus playing for you.
I know, man. It's amazing.
For sure. For sure.
The worst too is when like, because one of the main things I do right now is I do a lot of session work. So if someone sends me music and the parts were clearly programmed by a drummer, it's brutal, man. I mean, like, there's been a couple session things where I've had to go back and forth, just being like, listen, like, this part requires legitimately having 3 limbs, or sorry, 3 arms. You know what I mean, on top of my 2 feet. Can I, do this instead? And I'll have to like haggle or like,
Right.
So.
Bartering like real drums versus some fake ass shit. That's terrible.
Exactly, man.
Like, can I just give you another fill, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure guitar players think the same though whenever they hear something, like my music. So.
Well,
I mean, I heard guitar. That's what I heard. So you did something right.
Yeah.
It's playable though. That's
I mean, well,
you need like seven fingers and like a little bit more of a, like be able to branch out on the fretboard a little bit to play my stuff. I feel like
I'd be really fucking curious to see someone. Have you seen covers of your stuff?
I have seen a couple covers. Yeah,
Of the guitar parts.
of the guitar parts.
Well, I guess I'll just have to transcribe your album then.
That's fucking awesome.
That'd be kind of neat, but
So they're all zeros, and you just move them up to fret 48.
48. Okay. Okay. Well, dude, I mean, having worked and toured with legends like Marty Friedman, Jeff Loomis, future legends like Intervals, Monuments, Sky Harbor, your own fucking shit, there's been, there's got to be a bunch of major lessons that you've learned, you know what I mean? What are some of the ones that you kind of walk away with and implement into your everyday routine and way of doing business? And are there any lessons that you've learned that are like the exact thing you don't want to do or don't want to become? Because like dealing with all these fucking personalities on tour is a lot, dude. Like how do you manage that? Like what's your walk away? What's your takeaway there?
Well, the biggest takeaway for me is that I realized that it's not that I necessarily don't enjoy touring. It's just that I know what I can go out now on, like financially, and come home and what I need to make in order to still be comfortable when I get back home, So I guess that's the biggest takeaway because like, a few years ago when I was like touring with Jeff Loomis and Sky Harbor and Intervals, I had a lot of support from my parents and I still have their help as well, even today, but it's still one of those things that back then I could make those decisions a little bit more freely and not have to worry about having like, monthly bills to come back to and worrying about how I'm going to pay for them.
Right.
So that, and also, man, I just really like taking showers and like sleeping in a bed and stuff,
It's such a concept.
Yeah, clean clothes, good food. That shit matters, man.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm not saying I'm like a tour, like, like, man, I've been on a whole bunch of tours and all this stuff, but I've done it enough to know that I'm not really comfortable in those situations, I'd rather just stay home, play drums here, record music, do engineering sessions, whatnot from home, and have a gym schedule, So those are the things I enjoy. But
so it really just taught you that like what you love about the music industry is being a drummer, making music, helping other people make music. It has nothing to do with like doing the show every night, playing in front of people, connecting with large amounts of, it's much more personal goals that you have, right?
yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I'd still love to tour, but one of the things that really got to me was that I was in a band, Intervals, that was kind of like, so like these days, when you start a new band and you try and, take it on the road, you try and record music, you try and release stuff, it's a lot of work. It's a huge, you guys know, it's a gigantic investment of your time, effort, and money, and just mental and, physical, like, endurance. It's insane. So I was, in that band, and that band was kind of like one of those projects where you're not just joining a band where, a bunch of music has already been written, they've been established for a little bit. It's like, no, we started that from ground up, and that situation ended pretty poorly for me. So, and everyone else except for the one guy, but we won't get into that. But anyways, so it just kind of abruptly ended, and it was like, well, shit, all right, now that, I've done that, I kind of know how much work goes into it. I don't really like, I don't feel as passionate about going out and playing someone else's music 100% of the time, but I also don't really know how I feel about starting a brand new project and going on the road, I just don't know if I can do that at 28 years old,
Yeah, I hate to be rude, but I'm sorry, I've got to use lube.
Oh, okay.
My bladder's about to explode.
This guy. Yeah. Well, dude, that's a really, really interesting discussion because I myself went through the same fucking thing. Like I toured with As Blood Runs Black for like 8 years without really recognizing that I was kind of like repeating that insanity cycle of just like, I wanted tour life for so long that once I had it, I actually didn't go like, well, what the fuck's next for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you were probably on the grind too because,
Dude,
that's big band, you know?
It was brutal because like I joined the band when everything was terrible. I don't know if you remember all the shit that happened, but they like all of the main members of the band fucking left. They were like a cover band for a while. Then the original drummer and bass player came back, and
Oh,
that's
I didn't
when I
know
joined.
any of that.
So it was like insane, right? So there was literally, you understand the politics that go on in the industry, which is basically like that happened. As Blood Runs Black isn't going to be booked in the same slot. People aren't going to be as interested. Like numbers are not as fucking sick. So I joined the band at a time where it was like we were doing like the early slot, fucking everything's a van tour. It was the grind, dude. You know, 9 months out of the year doing that shit, and then we started to prove ourselves. People started like liking what we were actually doing, and we did Summer Slaughter was our last like van tour, and we lost our fucking vocalist that we had like built all this shit with. Politics kicks us in the ass again. We go back down to square one. Actually,
that's tough to do, is because vocal is kind of like, you know, that's a big stamp on a band.
That's the face of the band, dude. So it kicked us back down to ground zero. So the name of our record was Ground Zero. And it fucking sucked, man. Like the politics really ate that band alive, and there was this curse, this voodoo curse that we spoke of really fucking often that was like comically real, but it's like if we're going out and someone mentions like, you know, a tire, that shit's popping. If someone says the word oil, engine's falling out of the bottom of the van. You know, if someone says axle rose, our axle is fucking breaking. And it's just like,
or my bladder's exploding.
Yeah, it was just so fucking pathetic that I just like, after a while, it kind of, I woke up to the illusion of what that life can be when you're kind of, you know, that veil is real. You know, the tour shit is blinding if you're not really privy to what's actually going on and what you're doing for yourself, because you're growing the name of the band and you're really not focusing on yourself, you know, the self-development. And that got to me, man. That was 8 years of devoting everything to like this other entity that wasn't mine or me.
It's kind of like the concept of working for, you know, like
someone else or
the
yourself.
company. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It was working for a company. It's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Especially since you weren't actually like legally part of Blood Black, right?
Dude, no one legally was. There was you know, the LLC. There's so much legalities. I don't even want to get into that shit, but there was so much like dirty shit going on with that band. So much money owed. So much terrible shit going on. And it was in stuff like within the band, and it was business stuff outside of the band.
Yeah, I mean that's the fucking worst. I mean, like,
out of my control.
I mean, at the same time,
let's say fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm happy I'm here. Happy I'm alive. I'm happy I can still play guitar and I still love music. A lot of people would go through that kind of shit and not love music still.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck me. Yeah. So I'm happy to still fucking give a shit about it. I really shouldn't. Uh-oh. Anup, are you there still?
That's 40 minutes. 40 minutes through.
That's a long one.
Yeah, that's the best we've done so far.
It is the best we've done.
Actually, they might rival the Rick Graham one though. Oh, and Anup died. Is what it seems like.
Anup died. Anup, is that him saying hello right now?
Yeah.
Why don't you give him a call?
I'll go try. Anup, there's a chance that you won't be able to connect because these things are really stupid.
Let's give this a go, man. We got 2 more sick questions, and if you're down to stick around, there's some more juicy shit going on if you want to get in on that. But I hope this shit works.
Anup is back.
Fuck yes.
Sorry, I keep getting calls from someone, and it keeps kicking me off.
Sabotage, man. Who is this person?
It's my dad.
Podcast.
Well, dude, I guess. Actually, no. Take that one, dude. That's you.
I thought you were gonna ask that while I was in the loop.
No, I was fucking talking to myself, man.
What else is new, right?
No, I'm like, hey, hey.
So, I think I had the chance to see you, although we didn't really get to meet in person when you were out with Marty Friedman on the last tour of the Summit. But anyway, it made me start thinking about, like, you know, with your years of touring and living on the road, how did you learn to cope with so many different, you know, types of personalities? I know for myself, after touring with a very specific someone, that touring can be the worst thing in the world, or it can be the best in the world. So I'm curious on what your thoughts are.
Man, I don't really know how to answer that because I didn't like.
No names, obviously.
Yeah, please.
Well, I just didn't make like I just was trying to be like, you know, respectable on tour, I guess, and not really like, you know, people need their space, and sometimes people are trying to hang out and have a good time, and sometimes, you know, I think it's just gauging boundaries and kind of understanding when's a good time to, hang out and party and do all that kind of cool shit, but then when to kind of back off and give, a band member some space or whatever, But the other thing is that, on tours, I still feel like I am if I were to tour today, but I've always been like really big about, like helping with things like loading in, loading out, driving. I drove a lot when I was in intervals and also with monuments, and we had a hired driver. Him and I just split everything. It was brutal. They're just like kind of common sense things, I guess. It's common sense. So yeah. I guess because of that, it helped me to like not really have an issue with a whole bunch of different people when going out on the road.
Yeah, so. It's really interesting going on tours. You really recognize that there's this like pecking order or hierarchy that kind of just like is unspoken.
Yeah,
and shit just exists and falls into place without anything being explained to fucking anyone. And it's just this, I don't know, it's an interesting, I don't even know how to talk about it either. I kind of understand your answer there.
Yeah, I think it's like there are certain people who you can expect certain things of,
right,
like on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are certain people that are really out there just to fuck it up for everyone.
Yeah, definitely on those first.
Like the lost keyboardist of Sugarman was that way. He was a guy who tried to pick up women in very strange ways at gas stations. To an amazing 0% success rate. But like dealing with personality like his, it was it was like walking on eggshells every single day.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Because you could say the worst possible thing, or you could say the best thing to brighten his day. But every day was different, and so for personalities like that, that's really more so. I suppose my question, or at least on handling like big tour packages with 30 different people who all have different viewpoints, who all have different thoughts and processes and things that light them up or bring them down.
And right off the bat, my mind is thinking of like the Marty Friedman era of touring versus like touring with like monuments. That's like a generation apart. That's got to be a way different kind of tour, right?
Oh man, it was wild. It was like some crazy shit touring with Marty, just because like it was a really long set first off, and I'm like I come from the background of wanting to play to a click and like having backing tracks and stuff like that. Marty's not that, so half of our set was to a click, half not, and I had to like know certain hand cues he would do for like me to start the click for something, and then the click would die out during a certain section because it would be free time, and then while I'm playing I gotta scroll over to start a click for something else, and like
what the fuck?
It was crazy, man. So like that was really stressful, but
that's terrible.
Yeah, and like Marty is very he's Marty Friedman. He's done like an ass load of tours, like
yeah, dude.
And he's very used to having like techs and things just working when he needs them to work. So in that situation, I was nothing but a hired gun,
Right.
And it's not my place to like offer suggestions on how to do things because they have their system. And I was also filling in for 7 shows, so I wasn't even like on the full thing, So on that, I was just making sure I was, performing my best every night, and then outside of that, just being a cool person to hang out with, You
were in studio with Marty, weren't you? I swear I saw some photos of that at one point.
Yeah, I did. I recorded the drums for his last 2 solo records. So
yes, dude.
And that was also crazy. I mean, he would say shit like, he has this thing where he pushes the talkback mic on the console and he'll just start talking to me like mid-take. Remember there was this one time he was just like, man, Anup, what would like a 50-year-old like washed up drummer and like a cover band playing in a bar on a Wednesday night do here? And I'm just like, I don't know, dude. I'm 20-something and like, I don't know. Just shit like that. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah. We'd also troll him because he hates stacks. You guys remember with stacks? Like cymbal stacks?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So like me and the drum tech one day, because he just went off on me on a stack one time because I started using a stack, and he stops the playback and he's like, Anup, what is that? What is that shit? And I'm like, it's a stack, and I explained it to him. Anyways, we found it hilarious that he did not like the sound of a stack at all. So one day we just like added more stacks to the kit. So as soon as I started playing it, he was just like, "What the fuck is happening right now?" You know, shit like that. So
That's at least the motherfucker has a sense of humor and like.
Oh yeah, totally.
It can be like, you know, his balls busted and he still is cool.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, yeah, man, he's a fun dude.
That's so fucking funny, man. Oh man, well, dude, like, our last question here for you before we get into our VIQs is like, what's one solid piece of advice that you would give yourself 10 years ago?
The golden question.
Right? It's tough, but like, what's one thing that 18-year-old, 15-year-old Anup needs to hear?
Oh man, that's really tough because there's a lot of things. Because I was stupid. Every 18-year-old stupid. But like, man, I mean, the biggest thing is that I feel like I really wish that I was more confident in wanting to pick music as the thing I do, you know? Because there was so much back and forth for years, and it took me a really long time to figure out that like that was the only way I'd be happy. So I wish I had realized that sooner. So I guess if I were to tell myself, you know, or give myself advice, it would just be to follow my instincts more.
That's fucking beautiful, dude. Yeah, finding that thing and just knowing, commit to it is one of the hardest things ever, but one of the most relieving things at the same time.
And
totally.
Trusting to commit to it.
When did you eventually make that decision?
I think when I was 18 years old. Yeah.
So you just wish you heard it sooner.
Yeah, I mean, because I had a job as a network admin. It's technically an internship, but I mean, they were treating it like a full-on job. But it was for 2 summers, and I was like, you know, considering going to school for computer sciences or even architecture because I was really into that when I was young.
That's awesome.
But I just, you know, it just kind of hit me one day. It was like, what the hell am I doing right now? You know, like I don't know shit about programming, nor do I really want to be honest. But so, yeah.
So fuck, dude. Go for it, commit to it, and know what the fuck you want to do, which is actually a very fucked up thing to say. Know what you want to do.
It's
yeah.
I mean, like that's why you'll never see someone who starts playing violin at 18 in a symphonic orchestra.
Right, they got to be prodigies, right? Start early.
I from one of my old professors who was the first year violinist in London Philharmonic. She always said that you just need to start playing by the time you're 7. If you can do that, then you can do it. And
that's easy advice. I'll just travel back in time.
I know, just like so that helps me out.
Fucking
that would have helped like 6-year-old me.
Yeah, seriously, man. And it actually goes back to the initial like topic we were discussing, where like the everyday expectations of being a person in today's society. It's like with music, people like I felt, at least in high school especially, that teachers and staff, they were supportive, but they were also very, very, very skeptical and like worried almost, you know, that like you would choose music, you know, like.
Yeah, but what's your career going to be though?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nice
you know, like nobody took it seriously, you know. And even today, like some people still don't take it seriously, you know, like you know, when are you gonna, you know, find financial stability or like, you know, get a job? Well, it's like, well, kind of building all that stuff. I have been for years, you know. It's not just like I'm still playing with toys and shit for, you know, but
dude, it's really interesting. You saying this is reminding me of something I heard like probably about 10 years ago. It's basically like conventional wisdom comes from conventional people who do conventional shit, and musicians and artists in general are people that do anything but that. So nothing that comes from like the book that our fucking parents grew up on is gonna help us, man. We gotta go down our own fucking path. We gotta go against the grain and take those risks because there's no quotes for us. There's really fucking
yeah.
You know what I mean though? Like there's no.
Times have changed
Grandpa's
too.
quote that's going to help us.
No, I mean, I think Ben Franklin had the worst quote of all time, and that early to bed, early to rise makes men healthy, wealthy, and wise. It's utter bullshit.
And not to mention he was obese and shitty. Like.
And syphilis is a hell of a disease, but but
Ben Franklin.
it's like it's the opposite of everything like that. It's like late to bed, late to rise.
Yeah, you can get more shit done. Didn't like Einstein never fucking sleep?
I don't know.
Like a lot of I don't know. Maybe I'll make shit up. That helps.
Maybe after the atomic bombs he didn't. But.
Yeah. Fuck. But yeah, dude. Like, actually, really quick. We have this next segment that we do in our show, dude, called the VIQs, Very Important Questions. This is stuff that our ThoughtCast members send in to us, and we always kind of toss it to our guests. You know, if you want to stick around and answer these questions with us, we'd fucking love to have you. Otherwise, dude, like, you've done so much more than we expected, so we really do appreciate that, man. So there's like two, what do we got? 2 or 3 simple questions that we can keep pretty quick if you're down. It's up to you.
Sure, man.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Sweet.
All right, so Murad Ansari from somewhere far, far away wants to know, would you count songwriting as practice?
Yes, for sure.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
This is gonna be our first conflict.
But I mean, I can understand because as a drummer, a lot of what you're practicing is like timing, endurance, dynamics.
Yeah.
Like just doing that in a song
Well,
for
it's
you
like-
is practice.
Yeah, it's like the practical application of practice.
Right.
It's interesting though.
Might be-
Yeah, I mean,
it's physical as fuck.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
Or it's training, maybe.
to me, songwriting is practice of a different part of your brain,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
like practicing the creative side of you versus necessarily. I mean, depending on how you compose. Like someone like me, I compose from my brain, not from touching an instrument.
Right.
Like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't play guitar to write music.
Mhm.
So for me, it's practicing that side of my brain. But for someone who plays the instrument that they're writing on, perhaps it's different. I don't know.
I mean, it's rough because like the way I look at it is when you're doing songwriting, the end goal is like you're gonna have a song that you could play, right? So this comes down to like playing music. You're exercising the songwriting portion of your brain, but are you sitting down and developing new things in a way that's gonna be cohesive to developing new things? Or is it a place to put? Is it like a field test? Is it a place to apply this shit and be like, does it work here? Can I play it fast enough?
It's kind of like the yes and no, isn't it?
Oh,
Where it's
fuck,
like,
man.
so you're practicing just a different area of everything you should be practicing.
I guess this comes down to the semantics of what does practice mean.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it because it's
Is
like
that the real question?
it's practicing musicianship versus guitar playing
Or drumming?
or bass playing.
Bass the same.
Do bass players practice?
No.
which I think that stuff trickles down to your individual instruments too, you know?
Yes.
So
Completely.
for drummers, it's all phrasing and how to play more musically. It's huge,
Right.
you know? So
Yeah.
our instrument compared to you guys is we don't have notes. We just got like barbaric things to hit in a certain rhythm. You know what I mean? So like,
Very, very caveman. I like it.
yeah, it's harder for drummers to think in song form and like melodically sometimes, you know? So I think songwriting would really help that. And even if they don't write their own songs, write with another guitar player even still.
That's why you stand out to me as such like a unicorn in this scene, as like a guy who can fucking do anything on drums, but you're writing songs. You're like, they're complete compositions with like moods and dynamics and things to say. It's not something that I would like imagine coming from a drummer. So it's like,
Cool.
I actually think that what you're saying is probably more right than what the fuck we have to say. So,
Practice is practice.
Yeah.
Fuck all.
Practicing.
it's so true though. Fucking love it. Awesome, dude. Well, Jason Kakuk, I don't know how to say his last name,
Kakic.
from Maryland wants to know, are top artists there because of luck or because they are the best at what they do? Fuck.
Wait, say that again. What?
Are top artists there because of luck or because they're the best at what they do?
I think it's a mix for
Yeah.
sure. But like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that, you know, I'm not going to just be like, oh, they're lucky. It's like, no, they worked their ass off.
Fuck
You know, you know, they went through some shit and did some shit and paid their dues, did whatever they had to, you know, like, but there was maybe some luck in like who they met that might have helped them out, or, you know, if they got this opportunity to do this or whatever, you know what I mean? So,
But who's to say that wasn't a networking skill set that had to
Exactly.
be developed?
yeah.
That they practiced.
Right. they wrote in the song. But for real though, like it's the networking in and of itself is not fucking easy to do. Like I personally, it's like when it's time for NAMM and shit, I'm like, fuck, time to put on that like, you know, that face and just be like talkative to. I'm not always fucking like that, you know. So it's hard. That's a skill set for sure. You know, it's really hard to say. Is it luck or is it networking? Is really.
I mean, let's try to think in a different way. Is it talent or is it, you know, focus? Okay, so it's like,
all of it.
Yeah. So I mean, like talent. Personally, like me, I don't really believe in talent. I think everybody can do it,
Right.
just with enough practice and dedication and different amounts of time for each
Songwriting.
individual, and songwriting. And so I try to think of talent. So it's like, was I born this way? Or did I work my fucking ass off every day to get here? And I think it's the same thing. Is that it doesn't matter if you are, you know, shred metal god or if you are Pharrell Williams. You know, everyone's gonna be talented in their own different ways. Everyone's gonna have a different focus that is stronger in other areas and weaker in other areas. There's no black and white of it's luck or it's just practicing.
So true.
Because it's very much both. There are guitar players out there who are you know, worse than me and much better than me.
And much further along, potentially.
Exactly. And in both different areas.
Right.
Like, I see guitar players who know 3 chords and that's it. And they make millions doing that.
Of course.
And then I see the opposite, and it's totally different. So, in short, just be a good person.
What's interesting is, like, this actually, I think I mentioned this a little bit before, but it's like, being the right person in the right place at the right time. If there is a quote of our generation that we could use.
Be the right person.
Yeah, it really fucking matters. Being the right person isn't necessarily be born right, bitch. It's like...
SJW's triggered all over.
It's basically do the work, be prepared, know your shit, be a good human, be
Set
easy to work
yourself
with.
up for success.
That's all.
Yeah.
Be the right person is basically make sure you've done the work to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
That way, when you're in the right place at the right time, luck steps in and yada yada.
Well, I wouldn't even call it luck. It just goes back to, like, you know, who you know type thing, or like, you know, be in the right place, right time. If you put in the work, then you'll be presented with more opportunities where you are in the right place at the right time. You know,
So
it just
true.
that naturally happens. I feel like so.
And provided you're not a dick, you'll probably get the job. Or
Very
maybe
true.
it's because you are a dick that you get the job. I don't know.
Goes either way. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the fucking band, right? But Anup, like, we are so thankful to have had you on the show, man. Like, this thing that we're doing is a brand new idea. It's not anything, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're taking a bunch of different components of things and kind of slamming it together. But thank you for experimenting with us, man. We hope you enjoyed it, dude.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Fuck yeah, man. And for any of your followers who are checking this out, this is ThoughtCastNow. We do this shit every fucking week. You can go to everfret.com/ThoughtCast and snag a membership if you want. You can catch all of our previous episodes. Otherwise, just follow us, and we go live once a week, usually on Fridays, sometimes Wednesdays for Anup. We will be doing other days in the future, but we do it once a week, and you can catch that shit for free. And it's fucking so fun. We love talking to you. We love talking to all of these fucking people that we've been doing this with, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost an hour, and so we are going to have to get off. But, you know, every single week we get to get into the minds of amazing artists like Anup, like Gretchen, like Rick Graham, like, you know,
James Norbert, Steven,
Jeez.
fucking, we got Trey Xavier from Gear Gods. It's been sick so far, man.
yeah, we've got so many other fantastic players in different worlds coming up in the next few months. And, you know, asking these types of questions, and I mean, I learned so much through these things.
Right?
I know you do.
It's the
I know
best.
even our artists learn some things, you know, just get different perspectives and really just humanize what we do. I mean, music is human, right? It is the very core of human connection, outside of love and that thing.
No, fuck that shit.
It's all
about
about
music.
But so it's like getting to answer all these questions, getting to ask these questions.
Yeah, it's so fucking enlightening, man.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is one of the best parts of my week. And Anup, thank you, seriously, for taking
Thank you guys.
to do this.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We would love to have you on again at some point in the future if you're ever down. And as we said, man,